Good morning, good afternoon, and konbanwa wherever you are in the world. This is Rita Kamishiro, and you are now listening to the comfiest corner of the internet, Rkngel Radio, where you can kick back, relax, and enjoy the company of me and all of the amazing archangels we have here this lovely Sunday morning for me. If you haven't caught the title of the stream today, it's Balance and Brainstorming, a look into my life as a streamer. So I'll be talking a little bit about put my streams together, how I put my projects together, and then of course we'll go into a nice little Q&A section to finish off today's stream. So if you have any questions about things that I talk about, more than happy to answer those in depth in the Q&A section. I had any streaming experience before coming to PRISM Project. No, actually, going to PRISM Project, I had a lot of help, being taught how to use all of the tools that I use, and every day really is just a learning experience. A lot of the tools that I use, I've learned to use throughout my time as a streamer. A lot of the skills that I use as a streamer can definitely be used in the day-to-day. Balance. Definitely want to answer that. So finding a good balance between working on something and taking a break. For me, when it comes to within a day, I like to use what is called a tomato timer, or perhaps you probably know it by the name Pomodoro timer. And what that is you worked for 25 minutes, and you take a break for 5 minutes. And then you continue that for 4 loops. And on the last loop, you get a long break for 15 minutes instead of 5. So you repeat that however many times, and I don't know, that helps me stay focused. So rather than randomly picking up my phone, I know I have another 10 or so minutes until I can use my phone again and not feel guilty. So definitely check that out. How do you suggest staying on schedule with streams while also having a lot of life stuff going on? That is a great question. So on a weekly basis, as you know, I have Idol side job. So I guess that, gives me a certain amount of possible windows for streaming. So I tend to stream in the evening on the weekdays. And then the weekends, I can stream whenever I want. I tend to stream in the mornings on the weekend. When it comes to the week, I like to do around 4 streams a week. I think that's a good amount. And I try to do more on the weekends, so I don't have to worry about planning and preparing stuff on the weekday when I have Idol side job. So I kind of like to space them out within a week. Sometimes I have to do multiple streams in one day. And when life events come up, when it comes to the monthly or the yearly even scale, when it comes to 1 month, I like to give myself at least 1 weekend as a break. So maybe I will spend the weekend with friends. Maybe I won't stream on the weekends. I'll stream more on the weekdays instead. It's really just listening to yourself, and do you feel burnt out? Do you feel tired? And adjusting your schedule as follows. But generally, I like to follow that, at least 1 weekend, I guess, free or off during the month. And that helps me stay balanced and keep that energy for the long term. Oh my goodness. How do I motivate myself? I guess the biggest thing when it comes to motivation is you really have to be passionate about what it is that you're doing. And you have to give yourself something fresh to look forward to. I was talking to Umat-down the other day. We were getting ready for some big projects in the future, and saying I really appreciate the energy that you have for all of these big projects. And I told Umat-down it's because I'm excited for these projects. These are projects that I decide I want to do, and I put a lot of planning behind. And I guess I'd have to say the biggest factor when it comes to motivation is I get to work on things that I'm passionate about, I don't work on things that I don't have energy for, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. and yes, big projects in the works, so stay tuned. Brainstorming, which is probably one of my favorite parts of being a streamer. And not being just a streamer, but also being a content creator. As a PRISM Project agent, as you all know, I do more than just stream. I put out content like TikToks, I make short videos on YouTube, I do song covers, so. And though I know it's too late to call you, I'd love to talk about all of those. So how do you organize your schedule in case of an unexpected or unplanned event that collides with your streaming times? Well, thankfully I haven't had that happened to me. My usage of my Google Calendar tends to keep me from double booking myself or, triple booking myself. I also have, a good group of friends that are very flexible too. They understand that I stream and are more than willing to work around. Do you consider streaming as a job? I do. Streaming is so much more than, clicking start stream and stop stream. And I hope today I can provide some insight for those maybe who are trying to get into streaming, or maybe you are currently a streamer and you're looking for ways to balance or really kick up your content creation. So hopefully today's free talk will be helpful for that. How many projects do you work on at one time, and how do you manage to not overload the project? At any given time, I think I am working on 4 to 5 projects. I have a project workbook folder, and I currently have 4 active workbooks. So at any given time, I'm working on 3 to 5 projects. 3 to 5 big projects, in addition to making small content like TikToks or YouTube video. And how do I manage to not overload the project? Well, I think the project workbooks really do come in handy, because it really helps me map out everything I need to get done, maybe things that I'm missing. And it also, I delegate some work out, and so having a workbook really helps me recognize what parts of the project can I give to Uma-chan to take care of, or what parts of the project will I ask an artist or an animator to work on. How many hours a week do you work on top of streaming? So Idol side job? Approximately 40 hours a week on Idol side job. I know it's quite a bit, but Idol side job lets me do what I love to do, and that's being a PRISM Project agent. How do you manage other people to get on a deadline? How I manage that is I actually put a buffer for when things are due. So I have a soft deadline that I share with the agents, and then I have a hard deadline that I keep for myself. And so the soft deadline is what I share with them, because I know life comes up. I know the agents, have so many things that they need to worry about, and focus on. So I have a soft deadline to, allow them some leeway. And then the hard deadline, I have Uma-chan help me manage the hard deadline. And it all works out in the end, so here we go. So here's an example from Suki Kirai, one of the songs you shared earlier. Here's an example of one of the slides that I share with my animator. So this is the one that I shared with my animator. I kind of put a little information of what we wanted the video to look like. So a comic book theme. Here are the colors you can use. On the left here is kind of the social media example posts. If Luto wanted to make anything similar, she can have a similar color scheme. And I also wanted to share this the social media posts with my animator as well, so they can kind of get an idea of what the whole project feels like. And I think I have one more slide to share. I made a workbook for Idol School Festival. But if you remember, Idol School Festival was a big collaboration stream, amazing group of my friends. I had an amazing time. If you haven't gotten the chance to check it out, please do check it out. This was a stream that I did with Mina-chan, Reina, Mia, and Uru. And then I made a project slideshow. we did have a couple of rehearsals beforehand, so I shared this out for them to take a look at, and I used it to kind of keep me on track. I had a rehearsal agenda that I went through on the day of rehearsal. I went over the day of schedule with them. There's also the SNS schedule. I also went over the rules of Idol School Festival. They wrote out all the prep work that I needed from them, so sending me images or anything that they're not comfortable with on stream, so I can make any adjustments. So for the mini games, I asked if there was anything they're uncomfortable with doing. So I like to make sure my participants are comfortable with the content, what to expect at rehearsal, what we're going to do after rehearsal, and then a timeline for school festival as well. You do warm-ups before stream. I like to drink water, and I usually do like a sound check, like check 1, 2, or I go open up the airways. And any advice to speak better on camera and recording? Actually, so I don't know if I've shared this with you all before. I used to be very, very quiet, and like not, I didn't speak out very much. I noticed that the way that I speak can affect other people's emotions. So, if I speak a certain way, maybe I'll stress somebody out if I talk too fast, or maybe sometimes people like that energy and I'll speak, with lots of energy. Or for sometimes maybe if someone needs to be calm, I'll speak more slowly. So I think when I recognized that, different people are comfortable with different types of conversation or different types of speaking, that really piqued my interest in wanting to become a better speaker for like interpersonal reasons. And so I actually started working on my speech. I would almost every weekend I would go out and do like speech competitions. I would write essays and I'd speak them aloud, or I would take a play and I would act out all the characters and try out different voices. But it really is kind of like a practice makes perfect, if that makes sense. You really have to, I think the biggest issue when it comes to speaking on camera or recording is like nerves. And I think the best way to get used to nerves, because I feel like you never really get rid of nerves, you kind of get used to them, is to just do it. In the words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it. And then once you repeat it a lot, you'll kind of recognize different, your vocal patterns, your cadences, and you can break out of that and really get to vary your stream, your speaking on stream or in recording. So I guess the biggest piece of advice in that sense would be, don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. I know I do all the time. To live is to scoff. And another big piece of advice would be, listen to people that you like listening to, if that makes sense. So people whose voice you really like, listen to them a lot.
What do you think he's listening to?
Probably death metal or hard rock.
So I hope you all had a lovely time today. I hope you all are looking forward to the next episode of Rkngel Radio. Be sure to rest well. Make sure you're eating, staying hydrated. Treat yourself to some bread. And as always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, at your service. Bye!